What's up, guys? Who do we got? This is my first live. I'm excited to be able to see y'all. This is my live chat here. I'm excited. Who we got? Participants. So it had said earlier that we've got 3 people. Hey, Dom J, how you doing? What is up? This is great. Let's see what we got. Dom J, can you hear me okay? Pop out chat. Let's see, restore chat. Awesome. Yeah, man. Hit me with it. What we got, Dom J? Still weeping. I understand. That's okay. Hey, Daria's here too. Awesome. I got 2 brown thumbs up from Daria, just like that. There we go. They're both in the same direction. Awesome. Yeah, Dom J, I definitely understand, but please do. Whenever you have time, feel free to ask your question. And everybody else who's joined us, I want to warmly welcome you. I appreciate you guys being here, especially because this is the first time that we are trying this out. We did a poll here on the channel, and we ended up finding that about 68% of people who answered this poll said that they would love to be able to have the opportunity to do some of these lives. So very excited to be able to see you guys. So, okay. So Dom G says, I graduated in December 2019. Very good. Since then, I haven't found any postdoc or faculty job. Gotcha. Okay. Tell me more. And this can be really frustrating, guys, right? When we spent all this time and all this effort in graduate school going through this process, you guys know if you watch the channel that at the end of the day, there is approximately a 38% likelihood of men developing either an anxiety disorder or some kind of a mood disorder, right, at some point during their graduate school career. And when it comes to women, they have a 44% likelihood. So this is absolutely crazy. So you go through all that trauma of graduate school, and then all of a sudden you finally finish, you get the diploma, you leave, and you say, I'm set for life. This is my thing. All of a sudden we're going to be okay with the career. And what ends up happening is that instead we can't find a job. So this definitely makes sense. So here we go. So Dom G says, I graduated in 2019. Since then, I haven't found a postdoc or job, a faculty job. And remember, guys, that over 80% of all new faculty positions now are adjunct positions. And the big issue that nobody's talking about right now, or at least I haven't heard the preponderance of people talk about, is that with the COVID-19 pandemic, it is estimated in the US alone that 20% of all universities are going to shut. And you can imagine what's going to happen then, right? We're going to have a glut, right? And if you guys don't know what a glut is, it means an overrunning, right? A lot. We are going to have so many individuals who have decades of teaching experience, decades of research experience, decades of clinical experience or policy experience, all coming onto the job market simultaneously and competing for these very few tenure track jobs. And like we've talked about already on the channel, even tenure itself doesn't really mean anything these days insofar as if they really want to get you out. No, they won't fire you. In many cases, in terms of policy, they can't fire you, institutional policy. But as we've talked about on the channel, they are able to essentially make your life a living hell by giving you too many courses in terms of your course load, putting you on committees that you don't want, assigning you graduate students that you don't want, and so forth, okay? So here we go. Let's get back to Dom G's question. Dom G says, I graduated in December 2019, so about a year ago, a little bit, year and change, right? Since then, I haven't found any postdoc or faculty job. I've been working for a nonprofit educational organization as opposed to non-research focused academic institution. Okay, very good. As a curriculum developer and assessment specialist as a volunteer. And this is great, Dom G, in terms of building that kind of practical background. In terms of curriculum development as well, this is something that is very hot right now, especially if it has something to do with e-learning. Everything these days is getting digital. Both my last company and my present company are both digital in nature in terms of e-learning companies. And I can tell you that this background in curriculum development is actually very hot right now. And that's actually a great idea in terms of what you decide to focus on, even if it's just as a volunteer. Okay. So love that you're doing that as opposed to non-research focusing. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I don't think that that's a bad call, right? In terms of, as opposed to a non-research focused academic institution. So guys, what Damji's saying right there is that, some of these academic institutions, they're much more teaching focused, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Right now, these positions usually are ones where the teaching load is very high, meaning that if you have a 2-semester system, you're going to be teaching a 4-4 or a 5-5, as opposed to maybe a 2-2 or a 3-3, meaning like how many courses are you teaching per semester? 2, for example, in the fall, 2 in the spring, so on and so forth. That would be a 2-2. So you understand what I'm talking about here, right? So Damji says, I published one peer-reviewed research article last year as a sole author for my dissertation, and I co-authored grants, and we recently got a grant from USDA. Congratulations. It's a huge deal to be able to have that as a background, and I really want you to promote that when it comes to your CV, to be able to have a grant section or a funding section and talk about that. On that grant, were you a PI, co-PI, investigator, co-I, consultant? What were you on that grant? You can go ahead and tell me in the chat as I keep reading this here. But that's great, especially to have one peer-reviewed research article already out there. The fact that it's sole author as well speaks to how hard you worked on that. I'm hoping and praying that it was in an impact factor journal. Damji, if it was in an impact factor journal, can you tell me what the impact factor was of that journal? That would be very helpful for me as well. So at the end of the day, guys, right, when it comes to publications, always, you want to max out that publication count. If you're applying for a new job, you want to make sure you've got at least 3 to 5 publications, especially a tenure track job. And in terms of going from somebody non-tenured in a tenure track position to getting tenure, the median, okay, 50% or more, the median H index that we're dealing with here is anywhere between 5 to 8, okay? And when I say an H index, if you don't know what that is, definitely watch the Navigating Academia. Video on what is an H index, right? But suffice it to say that that means that you have between 5 to 8 publications, each of which has been cited at least 5 to 8 times. Okay, so what that means, you guys can imagine, it takes a while for people to even know that a publication of yours has come out. And then after that, if they need to write an article or a book chapter or anything like that, that is indexed in Scopus or, any of these things, Google Scholar, right, that cites your piece, that's going to take at least a year. So you can imagine that this is going to take a number of years to be able to get the H index that high. But the faster you can go, the better, okay, in terms of getting publications out. That's a good thing. And it's extremely difficult to get solo author publications. So Damji's really done a very respectable job in that regard. Usually what my recommendation is that if you guys are going to end up, okay, very good. Okay, I'll read it here. At the end of the day, right, what the goal is here is to be able to make sure that when you are doing these publications, that you are using them as an opportunity to build social currency. The only real reason to do a solo author publication is basically when you're going from already being a tenured associate professor to being a full professor, when you're going from being mid-range to going to the top of the pile, okay? When that happens, this is a situation where you need to make sure you at least have 3 solo author publications. Why? You need to show that even without co-authors, you are able to begin, manage, and publish a research project. Incredibly important. I know people in my field and other fields, exceptionally talented. Top of the field, name recognition at the LinkedIn level, they are known in their field, who have gotten rejected from that final upgrade to full professor because they did not have any solo author publications. So the fact that Damji's doing this already, freaking fantastic. Okay, so let's keep going. I published one peer-reviewed research article last year as a sole author for my dissertation, and I co-authored grants, and we recently got the grant from USDA. I've been working on publishing more papers for my dissertation, and I'm helping my friend from PhD to publish papers as a co-author. Fantastic, right? My one recommendation, I am not joking, it is without a doubt one of the best modules on Publication Academy, is the one that specifically has to do with with developing articles from your master's thesis or doctoral dissertation, okay? So basically, if you go to this website, I'm going to put it in right here, publicationacademy.com, right? If you go to the website that I just put in there, if you go to courses and then choose a custom curriculum, go down and you will see, I believe it is on line 5 or line 6 of the courses on your laptop, desktop, on a phone, you may need to scroll. Watch that module. That is one of the best ones on the site. And I teach it, and it's about 3 to 4 hours. It is the most comprehensive thing you will ever watch when it comes to an e-learning module that is specifically about if you've got a master's thesis or a doctoral dissertation. And you want to use that and basically cannibalize it into as many manuscripts, publishable manuscripts as possible. Okay, that's the module that you want to watch. It's not even a question, okay? So I think it's great, though, that you're also teaming up with other people. Now, when it comes to your friend, Damji, I'm hoping that this friend is in some kind, either the same field as you or in some kind of a corresponding field, some kind of a complementary field. Okay. And guys, so that we can get more people viewing, everybody just smash the like button. I don't even know where that thing is, okay, on your guys' screen, but if you hit the like button, more people will end up getting eyeballs on this thing, which is great. So here we go. My question is, would my current situation be disadvantageous compared to PhD holders who graduated at the same time as me and got a postdoc at an academic institution when applying for a faculty job? Damji, that's a great question. And it's a very logical question for you to ask, all right? So at the end of the day, the honest answer is that it depends what the postdoc is, right? And when I say what it is, I don't mean is it at a prestigious institution? Obviously, yes, that's going to have something to do with it. Why? Because of personal connections. You hear me, Damji, all the time on this channel talk about how important personal connections are. I can tell you that for all of my faculty appointments, all of them, including my tenured full professorship, including my Ivy League faculty position, including my Cambridge faculty position, I did not interview for any position that I've ever had in terms of an academic affiliation. It has always been through this process of personal connections, right, that I have gotten the opportunities, right? And these opportunities come from those personal connections that have been built over the years, mostly because I've been introduced to those high-ranking individuals by other people, right? And if you're in the right postdoc where you have other thought leaders in your specific niche of the field, then yes, having a postdoc is going to assist you in getting a faculty position because you're already pre-qualified. Okay, you're already a qualified person. I want you to imagine, Damji, that you and I, we go to a bar, right? And let's say that I'm a single guy and I see a girl from across the bar and I say, that is a very attractive woman. And I decide that I'm going to go over and I'm going to talk to that girl, right? What's going to happen is that if I go and I end up talking to that person myself, maybe it's going to go well, maybe it's not going to go so great, right? But regardless, I have to demonstrate higher value versus if a friend of mine goes over first, talks me up and then says, would you like to, meet this guy? And then I come over. I can be extremely humble in these things because I'm pre-qualified and the likelihood of that going well is exceptionally higher, okay? So that's the thing to take into account here, to take into consideration, is that that's why it would help. Just having done a postdoc period, no, that it would not help the individual more than it would help you, especially if you're on top of getting additional publications, which it sounds like you're putting that work into, right? You're putting that effort in, which I love and respect about you, right? Number one. The second thing is that if you are actively making personal connections yourself, and there's no better way to make personal connections than if you have opportunities to publish and you go to individuals who you like and trust at the target institutions, the institutions that you want to be at, right? And you come bearing gifts. You come to them and you don't say, hey, I'd love to collaborate with you. What projects do you have that I can collaborate on? No, you're coming and saying, I have something that I can offer you. Okay, I have something that I can kind of put my hands out here and say, hey, would you be interested in collaborating with me on this? Because even if the answer is no, that they don't want to do it, they will never forget that you're the one who came to them with an offer. And people don't come bearing offers of publication unless it's the case that they actually are good at what they do. And even if they never respond to you when you write to them, if you apply for a position, you have a unique name, Damji, which is a wonderful thing. I have a very common first and last name and a very rare middle name, right, in Phoenix. So what happens is that if people search for you in their inbox, if they say, I think I've heard that name somewhere before. Where did I hear that name? And they search for you in their inbox and they see that, oh, that's the person. Yeah, they reached out to me with an opportunity. That makes you look exceptionally good, okay? So that's actually a good thing. Then you got a few more things here, which is, by the way, my field and research interests are interdisciplinary. And I think maybe it's my problem with having a postdoc or a faculty job. At the end of the day, Damji, it's up to you to be able to find some sort of a common thread here. You got to come up with some kind of a narrative. It's fine if you want to work in behavioral genetics and psychology and machine learning algorithms and these things, but there has to be an underlying story that basically puts these things together, right? It's incredibly important. So, yeah, PhD is learning, design, and technology, which is, oh man, that's fantastic. My title is assessment specialist. Okay, got it. It would be great. I mean, obviously for these grants, you know, if ever you can end up becoming even like a co-investigator, you don't have to be the PI or the co-PI. If you can get a co-I on one of these things, the idea is that if you're applying to work to get a faculty position at a university where essentially they're operating on soft money somehow. Soft money, if you guys don't know, is basically where you are getting access, right, to your salary partially via grants. It's not all hard money, okay? Yo, Ryan, what's up, man? All right. Give me 1 second, guys. I've got some qualifying questions in here. I just want to make sure that I get to everybody because I appreciate you. So, okay, Q1 education. Okay, Darnell, I got your question, man. Just stick with me. Awesome. Julie, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for watching, man. Psychology, literary. Okay, Mandy, I got you, mate. Give me 1 sec. I'm getting these questions. Interview coming up with Shan. Okay, Shan, I'm going to come back to you last here because I need some information from you, okay? I'm going to go to Darnell and then I'm going to go to Mandy here. So, Shan, the information I need for you. So, Shan says, hi, Dr. Singh. I have an interview coming up for a PsyD program in clinical psych this Friday. Any advice? I've watched your previous interview videos. They've really helped me. Awesome, Shan. I love you. Thank you so much. So, Shan, what's the, and don't worry, you know, like nobody in this room is going to be like, haha, I'm going to steal something from Shan. What's the program? Do you have any personal connections there? Any idea in terms of the people who are going to be interviewing you? Okay, if you can give me those 3 pieces of information, I'll come back to you in a sec. Okay, so Darnell, let's do it, man. So Darnell's got, hey, Dr. Singh, I recently completed an interview with Brown. Congrats, fantastic, for a master's program. A few days later, I got about 6 emails from their enrollment management office. Is this a good sign? Let's put it this way. If you don't hear anything, right, honestly, doesn't mean it's a good sign or a bad sign, right? The fact that you're getting emails, period, suggests that you're still in the game. So Darnell, my question for you is, what was in those emails? I mean, 6 emails is a lot, especially if it's just like in a few days. What were the emails about and who were they from? Were they from people that you had contact with during the interview or not? And what was the nature of the emails? So type that in for me. I'm going to hop to Manny while you're typing and while Shan is typing. Okay, Manny has got, hi, doctor. I recently finished undergrad in psych. Congratulations. I would love to publish something before I apply for my PhD this year. Awesome. Hey, Angel, good to see you, man. This year, is it likely or possible for me to publish a literature review on my own, even in a low impact factor journal? Mandy, it's a great question, right? Publishing, honestly, Mandy, is like one of the most difficult skills. I literally this morning spent about 2.5 hours with somebody, and last night I spent 2 hours with somebody in Saudi Arabia. It was an absolute delight. And, you know, we literally worked on a manuscript for, you know, from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. his time. He was absolutely exhausted. God bless him. And it was a situation where reading through it, and he doesn't have any publications. I was reading through, I was like, wow, because it takes me back to where I was at the exact same place. I'll tell you, Manny, for me, I remember, man, so for me, I had like a 3.96 grade point average graduating undergrad. I just thought, man, I thought I was the ish. I thought I had this thing on lock, okay? When it comes to this kind of thing, when it came to writing in English, let me tell you, mate, academic writing is a complete and totally other beast. And no matter, I mean, the best thing to do to be able to get started with that journey is when I say read existing, like last 1 to 3 year research articles, I am talking about hundreds of research articles, right? This is a very detailed process. Writing a literature review is very complex because it presumes that you have mastery of a literature. And mastery of a literature usually comes from the systematic identification of themes and trends over a prolonged period of time, right? Now, does that mean that it's impossible for you to gain mastery in, let's say, a 12-month period? It does not, right? But it means that you need to be focused on a very specific niche, and you need to be reading an absurd amount of literature on a daily basis. I want you to be like John Nash from A Beautiful Mind. I want your mother to come and see your apartment and start crying her eyes out because she thinks that her son Manny has just gone absolutely nuts because you've got so many articles everywhere and you haven't showered in 7 days. Now, please shower though, right? But that is the level of intensity you need to go at it with. Manny, my recommendation is to never do anything like this alone, okay? My recommendation is always to team up with other individuals who are already on a team, they're already working on publications, and you can get on as a co-author on one piece of theirs. The fact of the matter is, and I didn't want to admit it back then, but now I know that it's true. The fact of the matter is, you are very rich in free time, and every human being at that level is going to be really, really bad at writing for academia, like as a career. It's just not a thing, right? It's not an insult to anybody. It's just not a thing. But that's okay because you are time rich, and people who are time rich have the ability to spend that time, to spend it systematically, working in a lab on a manuscript for a postdoc, grad student, for a faculty member, doing things like running simple analyses, correlational analyses, building tables, building figures, doing literature searches, and systematically gathering those articles, those PDFs, or extracting information from them, or building reference sections. This kind of stuff takes a lot of manual time, and it's not overly complicated. Doing the research that's actually necessary to generate a publication, however, this is something that is not in the realm of anyone's expertise at that stage, right? Even including somebody with the 3.96 who just got into Oxford, doesn't matter. Man, I'll tell you right now, I was the most arrogant guy, man, you've seen in your life, right? If you haven't seen it or whatever on the channel already, I will show you a photo of what I used to look like back then. Man, I had the long hair, so check this out. I had the long hair, man. I had the skull t-shirts. I had the wristband around my bicep. Man, I thought I was a badass mofo. I will tell you that right now, right? That was me. So at the end of the day, though, right, my recommendation is to identify teams either at the undergraduate university you just were or at other universities that are around you. See what labs you can get into. And the big thing, Manny, is I want you to be very transparent. Okay, when you actually have an interview or when you sit with somebody, okay? And what's going to happen is that you need to request 3 things ideally. You will volunteer and work for them for free, but you're trying to get minor authorship on a publication. You can be 17th out of 18. I don't care. That's chill. That's fine, okay? That's going to help you out just as much. A first author publication, the likelihood of it happening is just so exceptionally low, right? So that's number 1, okay? Number 2 is that I want you to get ideally a paper presentation. It's fine if it's a poster presentation at a conference in your field that has name recognition of some kind, okay? This is very, very key. It shouldn't be, like I'm in Virginia, it shouldn't be something like the Western Virginia Technical College Conference poster session. No. You want to go to, like for me, it would be American Psychological Association, national organization, right? That's what I want for you. If you can't get a paper, fantastic. That's okay. I'm okay with that. Get a poster presentation. And the last one is access to any personal connections they have that link them to your target program. Always, especially if you want to do a PhD, anything research-based, I want you to start with the supervisor and I want you to systematically work backwards, okay? That's the idea. You don't apply to a place because of the name of the place. You don't apply to Oxford because it's Oxford. You don't apply to Harvard because it's Harvard. You apply because there's somebody there in the same niche who is a thought leader, who you know, like, and trust, and who knows, likes, and trusts you, hence the importance of the personal connections, right? And who ideally you're an internal candidate of, right? That's something if you guys ever want me to make a video on being an internal candidate, let me know. I'll actually make a note of that because that's not a bad idea for a video. And always, you guys know me, guys. If you have ideas for videos, you guys know you can always tell me. Internal candidate. right? But if you can become an internal candidate, you're going to max out your chances. Fact of the matter is, guys, that legally speaking, no grad program, at least in US and Canada, no grad program can basically say, don't even post a position. I already know who I want. They legally have to do it, but they may already have an internal candidate. They've known from the jump. They've known for a year who they were going to let into the program, but legally they have to advertise it online, and legally they have to do interviews and these things, okay? And they'll do it, but at the end of the day, they already knew who they were going to pick the whole time, okay? But that's my recommendation for you, okay? Those are the 3 things. Awesome, man. You're welcome, man. Okay, next one. Let's do it. So this one. So next I've got Darnell, and then Shan, I'm going back to your answers, which I really appreciate. Kaput, I got you on there. Okay, and Angel, I see your question as well. Okay, so don't worry, I got everybody covered. Okay, here we go. Darnell is the one who got the 6 emails right after Brown. Darnell, let me tell you, man, my dream was to go to Brown. It's Brown. I'm Brown. Fantastic goodness of it. Let's take a look. Hopefully you laughed at that. We'll find out. So email stated, number 1, stay connected. Number 2, financing your Brown degree. Number 3, discover the Brown impact. And a few others. Haven't heard anything in about a week, though. Okay. And Darnell, this is something after the interview process, you should assume that basically you are down to the final. I mean, master's is a little bit different. I like that you're going for a master's, and you can tell me, Darnell, in the chat here, okay? I want you to tell me, what is your strategy? Is the strategy just to stop at the master's? Do you want to leverage the master's into a doctoral program? And why did you choose to do a master's program? Okay, just in general, was it something you want to max out the GPA? Did you try to do the doctoral programs? It just didn't work. And so because of that, you're doing the master's now. Maybe you need more research experience or more applied experience in your field. Tell me, Darnell, please, a little bit about that, okay? But getting those emails is a good sign. I especially like number 2. I especially, anytime you get something about financing your degree at a school, that's not a bad thing. The last thing I want to do, Darnell, is to kind of, fill your head high or low in terms of hope or the lack thereof, okay? I don't want to do that to you. I wouldn't do it to you, right? But it's not a bad thing. In terms of stay connected, straight up, that's probably an automated email they send to everybody, and it'll have, one of these little mail merge things in there that instead of being like, it'll be like, dear last name, and then your email will be like, dear Mr. Jones, and then it'll continue from there, okay? So that's what we got there. In terms of discover the Brown impact, automated email. The fact of the matter is, if you're just on their email list in the first place, these guys, man, are going to be sending out email blasts left and right to be able to make sure that you are cognitively primed to be thinking about their program. We call this the mere exposure effect. Darnell, I love it, man. Drama in English. Man, Darnell, I wanted to take theater in high school. My mother made me take info systems and learn how to use PowerPoint instead. To be honest with you, it ended up working out great, but would have loved to take that theater class. I love that you want to be a teacher, mate. It's so important. It's freaking awesome. And as you may know, right, only 14% of all teachers in the United States are men, right? So we really need men. And as a man of color myself, the fact that you are a man of color is going to be one of those 14%, I freaking love that. So I think it's great, man. And obviously, having the master's is what you need. If you ever want to go up, maybe you want to be principal one day, you want to be in administration, you want to be a superintendent, then you go and get the doctorate of education. You get the EDD, and then, you're freaking, you're in it, man. Right? Dude, it's a pleasure. So, I would say that second one is the good sign. The first and the third, mere exposure effect, is basically the more that you end up hearing about something or seeing something, the more at the end of the day that you are going to like it. This is why we like celebrities. This is the reason why I own probably half the things I own, is because I see them and I'm like, that's really dumb. And then all of a sudden I see it like 1,000 times and I'm like, fine, you've beaten me down. I'll buy the Apple Watch. Fine, right? That's one of those things. And so Brown wants to make sure that if you are a competitive applicant, they're going to assume, that you have a variety of other options, and they want to make sure that they keep you semantically primed so that even though you have other options, if you do get in, you're going to choose their program and nobody else's. Okay, so that's what I would say there. Okay, now we're going to go to Shan, and don't worry, guys, I see everybody's questions, which I really appreciate. So I'm going to look at Shan's original question. We'll look at the updated info. So she said, "Hi, Dr. Singh. I have an interview coming up for the PsyD program in clinical psych on Friday. Any advice?" Oh my gosh, yeah, I mean, it's nerve-wracking, am I right? Like it's some scary stuff, like for real. And I appreciate you watching the interview videos. Hopefully you also enjoyed that video that I just put out the other day as well, which is even more interview questions. Definitely go through that. And Shen, you can do me a personal favor on that video. If on Friday you get any weird questions or any questions not on there or any of the other videos, please do put them on there. And I'll try to make another practice video for people in future years so that we can help them out. Because I mean, the goal of the channel is always, you guys know me, we just want to help as much as possible, right? Like this is a big thing for us because people like don't help in academia, which is a real pain in the butt. So Shan says the program is at University of Houston, Clear Lake. I know the program. I don't have connections, but I did reach out to the professor that I'm interested in having be my supervisor. Outstanding. She explained that she does work in social emotional learning in the schools, but her CV was not on the website and she didn't share it with me. Okay, great. So the best way to deal with a situation like that is twofold. Number one is that I want you to go to Google Scholar because it's the highest sensitivity of these programs. Not programs, of these search engines. You can also go to something like Microsoft Academic, which is another one that's kind of competing to be in this space, or Semantic Scholar. Those are your three big ones. If you wanted to, maybe you've got to, like you say in schools, right, or PsyD, go to PsycInfo, go to ERIC. ERIC is for education. It's specific to education literature. PsycInfo is specific to psychology, right? Go on those, search her name, find her profile. I want you to take a look at the last 1 to 3 years of her publications where she was first author. And I want you to read the abstracts of all of those as a way to be able to prepare. So that this way, during the interview, you don't have to just say, oh, I'm interested in working with Professor such and such. You can say, I'm interested in working with Professor such and such. Her work has been very influential on me. For example, earlier in the year, or last year, I read her British Journal of Psychiatry piece on such and such. It was really influential on me, and that's what led me to make it so that the Clear Lake program is my number one choice. Okay, always say it's the number one choice. What else are you going to say? Oh, it's my number 3 choice. Sure, that's going to go well, right? Probably not. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. The other thing that I want you to do, Shan, is in terms of former schools. Okay, so you haven't told me in terms of whether we know that who's going to be in the room. In that case, it's not a bad idea, Shan. Yeah, it's going to be a pain in the ass, okay? I want you to go onto YouTube, and I want you to YouTube search the full names, in quotes, of every faculty member in that department. Why? Because 70%, it's not true that over 70% of communication is nonverbal. That's not true. But the emotional impact of a message, over 70% of it is nonverbal, okay? It's not the message itself, it's the emotional impact. And remember, we've got 3 different channels of nonverbal emotion. We've got facial affect, we've got paralanguage, which is the reason why when I teach you guys, at the end of my words, it always goes up, okay? Now, that is the best way to teach because it increases comprehension and retention by over 30%. That's where I do it, okay? Anyway, which is a good thing. At the end of the day, the other thing, gestural affect, okay? And you guys know me, I talk with my hands all the time. If you tied my hands behind my back, I'd probably be silent for God knows how long. So very good. And being your supervisor, search all of them. I want you to find out what their nonverbals are. Sometimes people look a certain way on the website. They look really gregarious and outgoing. And then all of a sudden, like you watch a video and they're just like this the entire time, right? You never know, okay? And I want you to get a sense of these personalities because it's going to prime you to be comfortable with the personalities. This way, if you know that these 3 people are going to interview you and these 2, you've watched YouTube videos, you have a general sense of their temperament, you can mimic, you can mime their energy level. For the love of God, look at me and how energetic I am. Can you imagine if you're sitting across from me and you don't have positive energy? You would drive me crazy if you don't have positive energy, right? I'm a very positive person. I take it really seriously. So then you could match that in me, okay? People love nothing more than to be surrounded with a similar kind of energy as what you're putting out, okay? And so that's my recommendation there. In terms of the other interview videos, you're going to hear me say things like, okay, here's my chair right here, right? Don't sit all the way to the back. Don't sit all the way to the front because you're going to be kind of hunched over, right? Never hunch. Okay, you don't want to sit all the way at the back because then maybe you're kind of leaning back. You're going to look like a douchebag, okay? I want you to shift up maybe about 3 inches. And ironically, it's going to help you stay alert. It's going to keep that spine straight. It also frees your hands up for greater movement if you are somebody like me who needs to gesticulate, okay? So those are my recommendations, okay? So, Shan, that's what I've got for you. Okay, next we have, okay, next we got Angel, let's do it. So Angel says, I'm starting to write a book, very long-term project. Any suggestions, start the project? Angel, type for me really quick. Is it a fiction book, a nonfiction book, which is for a general reading audience, or is it a book that would be intended for use by students at an institution of higher education? And I'll wait for you. And don't worry, Johnny, I got you as well, okay? Academic. Okay, cool. So at the end of the day, Angel, right? So, and remember, right, if you haven't watched it already, we got the video on the channel, which is all about history book. Okay, gotcha. So definitely take a look at the channel video that I've got about writing an academic book proposal, right? And again, on Publication Academy, there's literally an entire set of modules that's all about how to get an academic book contract. So I'll put that in here again, publicationacademy.com. So if you end up going, I just put in the chat, guys. If you end up going to that website, go to courses, build a custom curriculum, and then you can take a look at all those courses that you guys can buy access to. Because that's like literally everything I know about that, right? But in terms of writing a book like that, right? The best bet, Angel, right, is I want you to always think about how you can use a publication opportunity to build social currency, okay? To be able to build social capital. Because publications are things that are meant to be done with other people. A lot of people, including myself, Angel, we used to think that writing something where you are the solo author means that for some reason the field is going to give you and whatever field you're in, it's going to give you a lot more respect, okay? Not true. I wish that was true. Not true, okay? If it's you and then 3 other people who are after you, let's say that you're the first author versus just you, it will reflect better you and having 3 other authors. Why? It shows that you can lead a team. And especially at this stage, right, going into graduate school and these things, like you said, it's a very long-term project, but doing something that is more of an edited book means that you would be the lead editor and have several other editors, means that you are going to be working with dozens of other leaders in your field. If you can find a way by kind of following the Publication Academy criteria and templates, because everything in there is template-based, that's how I built it. And the good news with that is that I have never had a book proposal rejected, never, from the 5 largest academic publishers, which are Elsevier, Springer, Sage, Wiley, and Routledge, which is run by Taylor and Francis, right? Those are the big 5. Those 5 publishers alone publish over 90% of all new academic books and academic journal articles, which is insane. Elsevier alone, which some people also call Elsevier, right? Elsevier alone is a multi-billion with a B, a multi-billion-dollar company, which is insane. And it's publicly traded. You can buy stock in Elsevier. It's ridiculous, right? Anyway, but that's the thing. Okay, let's take a look. So what I want you to do is to at least consider doing that. Why? Because it's also going to be significantly less work for you. Okay, that's a key thing. It's like new history. No one has done a history on my, okay, Angel, what is the topic? And give me just like a brief blurb so that I can start chatting while you give me additional details. So that's why I can keep going for everybody else who's watching. And everybody who's watching, please do hit that like button because it ends up getting building our audience a little bit. Hey, Sunflower. Okay, Angel, keep talking, buddy, okay? Keep typing that in, and while you're getting that in, I'm going to go to Johnny real quick. Hey, Johnny, appreciate the wait, buddy. So let's do it. Johnny asks, can you describe the admissions review process and timeline for your program's graduate and PhD programs? What subjective things do reviewers talk about? Great question. Okay, so Johnny, this is going to differ for every department at an institution. And it's going to obviously differ between institutions, but you already know that, right? And a big reason here is number of applicants. The Number of applicants for the preponderance of programs this year is unprecedented. For last year. And for this forthcoming year, it's going to be unprecedented again. Why? Lack of standardized testing, right? A lot of programs now that routinely relied upon standardized testing to be able to provide some sense of reliability, right? And when I say reliability, what I mean is that standardized tests are IQ tests, right? The amount of factor analytic studies that are out there that show the intercorrelation of the underlying latent constructs of intelligence tests and standardized academic tests, it's undeniable, right? And so because of that, people rely on GPA, and I have a video that will come out later this week on this, right? GPA as well as GRE scores, people are relying on those to be able to essentially triage this. Oh, Kaput, you're right, I did. I'm sorry, mate. Give me one second. I'm going to go to you next. I'm sorry. Thank you for noticing that. I appreciate it. If I've ever missed somebody's question, you just put it in there, okay? So we'll keep going. We use it for triage. At the end of the day, like, for example, the one PhD program I got into was a double PhD program. 500 applicants, 1 acceptance. That's insane. That's a 0.2% acceptance rate. Are you kidding me? Right? That's insane. As you guys know, a lot of these programs, for example, a lot of you guys may be interested in psych in some way, shape, or form. Clinical psych PhD programs, the acceptance rate is lower than medical school. That's crazy, right? Medical school, absolute insanity, right? And so because of that, in terms of like the low uptake and these sorts of things, right? A lot of people rely on things like GRE and GPA to screen out. Now they don't have GRE. What does that mean? Significantly more people are making it to the next stage, meaning that the competition is significantly increased. And again, it's going to increase this year. So at the end of the day, overall, the odds of getting into programs is significantly lower. Is that really annoying and scary? It is, and I get it, okay? But it also means that there's going to be a longer wait time, and the likelihood is high that at the end of the day, you are going to end up waiting longer after you get an interview to find out whether you got in or not. Usually the wait time is it also depends on when applications are due. If applications are due in November or December, you should expect by January or February to be able to get some kind of an interview request, right? And if you don't hear anything back, there is no need to follow up. Right? No need, unless you get into a program and they say, do you want to accept this or not? By this date, you have to let us know. Then you can go to a program where you haven't heard back about an interview and say, I've actually gotten an opportunity, but you guys are my number one choice. I would appreciate if you might be able to let me know when I might hear back about an interview. That actually could make you look good because all of a sudden it starts a bidding war. Imagine you're at an auction, right? And people think that, oh, this is going to go for $100. Somebody says 50, 75, 100. Then somebody says 110. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's just getting higher and higher and higher. It's building up further and further, right? You want to start a bidding war for you, Johnny. That's the idea, okay? In terms of things that people subjectively are bitching and complaining about right now, because I've got colleagues of mine calling me every day, it is the number of applicants that they're getting is out of control, the lack of the standardized tests to be able to help to triage the situation, and then other things as well. So, for example, things like, oh, God, I literally got a call from somebody I won't name, for obvious reasons, 2 days ago. I was talking to him in the car, and he literally said that at the end of the day, he had 175 applicants just to him as a supervisor, not the program, him. He had to narrow it down to 25 in the first round, okay? After that, he had to choose 8 to be able to interview. And when it got to the 8, he said 4 of them were obvious. For 2 of them, he was able to somehow bring himself to be able to figure out. And I'm not kidding, for the rest, he told me that he used a random number generator, okay, and assigned everybody a number and used a random number generator to be able to figure out the rest. That's crazy, right? That is absolute insanity to me. But that's what he said. It just, I don't know how that's possible, right? But that admissions process usually, especially if it's a research-based program, the general process is that the person who you've identified as your target supervisor, that person's going to look at it. They will say if they're interested or not. If they choose you as somebody they want to have an interview with, they will let the general admissions committee know. In the rarest of cases, but it is the exception and not the rule, the program will basically say, hey, supervisor, we want you to consider this person. That's not normal, okay? That is not normal. The only way that would be normal is if it's kind of a practice-based doctorate, for example, like a PsyD instead of a PhD. Sometimes you're going to end up seeing that, okay? But again, it's extremely rare. So, Johnny, that's like a 10,000-foot overview. Okay, Kaput, so sorry that, and I apologize also if I'm mispronouncing the name. Here we go. Kaput says, hello, Dr. Singh. How would you recommend preparing for a PsyD program before starting the first semester? So, Kaput, tell me in the chat, okay, do you mean that you have not started your first, you're welcome, John. Kaput, are you telling me that you have not started your first semester of undergraduate yet, or that you haven't started the first semester of something else, like grad school or high school? And you can just tell me undergrad, yes or no. Okay. I'm not sure if you're still in, so I'm going to go ahead and, since I'm not seeing anything pop to the next person here, Angel. Okay, Angel, just to be able to finish up with you, buddy. So Angel says what the topic of the book was. The topic is a group within the Catholic Church that has existed for about 60 years, has had a huge impact on the history of the church in the 21st century. Okay, if it's had a huge impact, presumably there are some other scholars that are out there. And when I say some, I don't mean like 50, right? When I say some, I mean like 5, right? And that's great. Okay, because you want to intimately get to know those people, Angel, right? You want to invite them on the book, especially if they're more experienced than you are. That is a good decision. It's not going to make you look worse to be able to add those other people to the book, right? And if nothing else, talk to them, right? Set up a Zoom call, set up a PhD. People love young people. I wouldn't have this channel unless I loved you guys, right? Unless I loved working with young people. This is the reason why I do 5 to 8 consultation sessions a week with you guys, right? Is because I love you, right? And I want to help you, and I want to make everything transparent for you guys, because there's so many lies out there in academia, what works, what doesn't work. And you guys know me, my goal is always to be able to shoot you guys straight. That's why I do this, right? So Angel, that's the key, okay? To be able to find those people. Maybe a little bit difficult. Maybe, Angel, you only find one person. That's possible. Maybe you only find one person, okay, who has also done research on this. When I say research, written anything about it, maybe they wrote a newspaper article 10 years ago, right? Find that person, get in touch with that person. Search for that specific group within the Catholic Church, not only in search databases like Google. I also want you to search things like just news, the news tab on Google. It's a great place to be able to go, okay? And I want you to find those people, contact them, get onto a webinar with them or something like this, right? And talk about your passion for it and see if they'd be interested in collaborating, okay? We need people who are more experienced. When you're somebody, and I love it, mate, when you're as passionate as you are, we need people who have more experience, who can guide us. That's everyone, right? Not just you, right? And that's going to be a good thing for being able to also build up relationships for people that maybe you want to work with down the line, right? Man, I'll tell you right now, I have people who I met, and this is not a joke, that I met when I was 19 years old, right? I'm 34 now. When I was 19 years old, who I still work with today over the years and have been friends of mine for a very long time. They were mentors. All of a sudden, they became colleagues. And eventually, I ended up giving them opportunities. How cool is that? Okay, so Kaput says, so you've got your bachelor's and you'll be starting the PsyD in the fall. First of all, congratulations on getting in, mate. That's a really big deal. So I hope you went and had a party and you'll have a beer in my honor, Kaput, tonight, right? To be able to have me celebrate you. So you got the bachelor's, you're going to be doing the PsyD. What I want you to do is I want you to find out what is that first, you're welcome, Angel, that first semester's curriculum. What are the different topic areas there, okay, that you're going to be asked to be focused on, all right? And if you already have a supervisor or you're trying to get a sense of who your supervisor might be, if you're not sure, I want you to either, if you have one assigned or that you've chosen or has accepted you, I want you to go back again, last 1 to 3 years of publications. Read everything that they're first author on and everything they're senior author on. Senior author does not necessarily mean corresponding author, but it does mean being the final author on the piece, okay? If that's the case, rock on, you're good to go. Why? Because those pieces, that's their baby. That's the thing that they're truly passionate about. If they're second author somewhere in the middle, Maybe they supervised the piece, but that's unlikely if they weren't the senior author, the last author on the piece for Psych, right? Psych is last author, is senior author. Different fields, different things. If you guys have more questions about that, watch the Navigating Academia video about authorship order. I don't know why that video is so popular, but it is, so love it. Okay. Read it. If you don't know who the person is who's going to be your supervisor, I want you to go on to everybody's faculty website and I want you to take a look, okay, at the kind of work they do. And I want you to think carefully about 3 things, okay? Your preferred clinical population you want to deal with, okay? So what's the population? What is the phenomenon you're interested in? Clinical depression, developmental disabilities, dissociative identity disorder, whatever. Okay, what's the phenomenon? And what's the methodology that you're interested in utilizing? Maybe you're interested in CBT. Maybe you're interested in EMDR. Maybe you're interested in dialectical behavior therapy. Whatever it is, okay? I want you to start thinking about that and seeing who has a goodness of fit for you. If they have a lab, go to the lab website, take a look at the projects currently happening. Very rarely in a PsyD program do any of those people have grants that they're working on, unless it's like a clinical contract with the state, something like that, okay? So that's what I want you to do. Start that background research, looking at that stuff, figuring out who you want to work with. You're going to be so much further ahead of everybody else because you're going to get first dibs as a first year, but because they haven't done the work, going into those people's labs, going to their office hours, sitting down with them and saying, I'm a noob, I'm a first year and I'm passionate. I'm passionate about publishing. I'm passionate about becoming the best equipped junior clinician I can be, right? I want to be working in this field and you're the person I want to work with. And especially inspiring to me were X, Y, and Z publications that I read over the summer to prepare for this conversation. Do you know, Kaput, how excited I would be if somebody came and sat down with me and said, listen, Dr. Singh, your 2013 British Journal of Psychiatry piece and your 2018 piece in the Journal of Threat Assessment and Management changed the way that I look at violence risk assessment. And I want to work with you. That would mean so much more to me than somebody coming and sitting and saying, I want to be a clinical psychologist and I want to work in forensics. You're the forensic guy. Can I work with you? Not going to do the deed, right? Not going to get it done, okay? So those are my recommendations for you to be able to get started. And then when you actually go through the process of moving to the location, beginning this ID, I want you to, as soon as possible, set up appointments with the person or persons who you think you may want to be your supervisor, okay? 1 to 3 people, don't choose more, okay? Very good. Getting out of breath. What else we got? Okay, sunflowers next. Give me 1 sec. Sunflower says, hey, Sunflower. Is it possible for an international student with a 3.5 GPA, some research experience, and also good English, reading, and writing skills to get into a PhD program in clinical psych in the USA? It's a good question. Okay, you got a 3.5. That usually will get you over the threshold in terms of GPA for most programs. As I've said in other videos, make sure that you watch my video because it's applicable across disciplines, even though it's called How to Get into Top Clinical Psychology PhD Programs. I want you to watch it anyway, even if you're not in a PhD psych program, even though I see that you are. The keys to the castle here, I want you to have above median GPA. For that program, find out specifically for that target program, I want you to have above median GRE scores if it's required in the year that you're applying. I want you to have 3 phenomenal letters of recommendation, 1 from an academic person, 1 from a research person, 1 from a clinical person, okay? You also need clinical experience and research experience. If you have those 5, it will not get you in. It will make you totally and utterly average. I'm sorry to break everybody's heart. That's the truth that nobody says. What you really need to focus on is 3 things. Get at least 1 national or international good name conference paper poster presentation. I want you to get at least 1 publication in a peer-reviewed journal that has an impact factor, and I also want you to get personal connections with your target supervisor. Step 1, guys, figure out the supervisor, work it backwards. Figure out the supervisor first. If the best person in your field is at Eastern Kentucky Technical Institute for whatever, and you can go there or Harvard, go to Eastern Kentucky Technical whatever. That's the key to the castle. People don't think that way, and they need to start, okay? It's very important. In the field, I don't care you went to Harvard. I care that you worked with my buddy whose name is Susanna, who's at Eastern Kentucky Tech, okay? Academia, the law of the land, is who you know. That's the law of the land, okay? And so that's very important, okay? In terms of English, getting a publication is the best bet for that, to be able to prove that your scholarship, that your level is high enough to be able to publish in academic English. If you have the time and the funds to be able to do it, I want you to go to www.publicationacademy.com. I want you to go to courses. I want you to go to build a custom curriculum, and I want you to take the most comprehensive course ever built for academia, or specifically for academic publishing, on how to be able to master academic English for non-native English speakers. That is the best course ever developed on it, and was developed 6 months ago by somebody who has 17 years of experience in training people in academia, okay? Take that class and you can put it on your CV, okay? That's what I want you to do. All right, very good. Next, Charles. What we got, buddy? All right, Charles is saying, about to enter a neuroendocrine PhD. Awesome, man. Good job. Additionally, investing trade-offs. Whoop. Any neurology postdoc or industry tips? Very good. Or industry tips. Okay, so Charles, tell me a little bit, right? So I'm going to ask you these questions. I want you to type the answers in. I'm going to come back to you, okay? So you're going to enter the neuroendocrine PhD, right? Do you have a supervisor? Number one, do you already have a supervisor that you selected? Number one, okay? Number two, if you selected it, do you know what your dissertation project is going to be? Or at least approximately what it's going to be is number two, okay? In terms of industry versus the postdoc, right? A lot of it, like Charles, if you did a one-on-one consult with me, which obviously you're more than welcome to book one, what you and I would do, mate, is we would figure out where do we want to be, and this is something people don't think about. One of the keys to the kingdom is finances, and I'm sorry to tell people that, but it's true. We need to figure out, Charles, where financially you desire to be at the end of the day. What kind of life do you and your future spouse want to have? Some people are happy with very little. Okay, they're happy with very, very little. Okay, other people, they say, I want to be going on 4 international vacations a year. I want a clinical practice. I want to be clinically practicing in Manhattan. And in addition to that, I want, here's my Rolex hat. I want to buy a Rolex, and I want to do all these sorts of things. Okay. Other people not like that. We need to figure out where you want to be. Once we know, we need to track it backwards and figure out whether academia in a traditional sense is actually for you or not, okay? And then once we have that information, we can figure out the best path. Industry is not a bad thing. Even if you do a neurology postdoc, I never want you to think, like a lot of academics do, that you have sold your soul to the devil to do industry consultation, or especially to do industry level trainings. Okay, in terms of industry level trainings, you can make a low level $1,500 a day, all the way up to about $10,000 if you're an academic and you're giving a full day training. Yes, that's going to take you many years to work up to that, but you can do it. Okay. And even as a starting academic, if you go and give a full day training, you can easily make a G a day. You can make $1,000 a day, $1,000 a day. Okay, doing that. And it's a great way to be able to build up your free income, right? At the end of the day, kind of extra income on the sides. So it's not something where you have to choose one or the other. Obviously, if you want to go into academia, you should do a postdoc. If you can't get straight into a tenure track faculty position, I frankly recommend doing a postdoc. And the reason that I recommend doing it is that, again, there's a significant amount of trauma you're going to undergo while you're doing this PhD. This is not for some people and not for other people's. It's for everybody. First year is going to be so much fun. You're going to have a great time. It was one of the best years of my life. And then after that, shit gets real, right? And it gets real pretty quick. And when that happens and the trauma starts occurring, I want you to always remember, Charles, that I want you doing C- quality work. Your most seminal work that you do in academia is going to be after the PhD, not during it, okay? And because of that, my goal is to get you out of there with the letters after your name frickin' as quickly as possible, okay? So doing the postdoc gives you anywhere between 1 to 3 years to chill the F out. And I'm talking about allowing your central and peripheral nervous system to chill out, okay? Super important, all right? Otherwise, you're going to burn out. I'm burnt out right now. It's a bad feeling, right? And it'll cause health problems. And those health problems sometimes can be a little bit worrisome, right? And I don't want that to happen to you unnecessarily, okay? Because I care about you. So I want you to be nice and chill after that. It's another reason to do a postdoc. Okay. So Charles, that's what I got for you, buddy. And Charles, did you tell me what the, she's okay with moving and we're financially sufficient? My man, fantastic. Yes, yes. GABAergic neurons, regulating decision-making in the visual cortex. Fantastic. Isn't it great, Charles, that we can just sound super fancy by saying things like dorsolateral prefrontal cortex relative to the ventromedial prefrontal cortex? We sound so intelligent, don't we? Right, so that's great. Okay, I'm thrilled that you already have the supervisor and you know what the topic is, okay? So at the end of the day there, you can already begin the process of identifying where are the leaders in your field, number one, in that specific topic area, correct, okay? And number two, do they have a postdoctoral program? And are they kind of old AF to the point that when you're done with this PhD in 4 to 5 years, that they'll still be around and still be publishing and still taking on students as postdocs, okay? But that's a super cool subject, love it. Okay, so, and Charles says she's okay with moving. And Charles, I'm assuming that you said somewhere about your partner, that she's okay with moving and we're financially sufficient. Fantastic, fantastic, right? Charles, my dream for you is I want you to be a sugar baby and I want you to be a pool boy, right? And I just want you sitting out and just, let her make that cheddar and then you just sit by the pool in a banana hammock. She'll love it. I'm sure she will. Don't tell her that because it'll be terrible, right? But in seriousness, this is great. You've definitely already got your head screwed on straight with this stuff, okay? So very proud of you. That's great. Okay, fantastic. So guys, because it is after the hour, I was planning on spending 1 hour, so I'm done with new questions, but I'm going to take a look at the questions that we've already got, okay? And I'll be answering. If anybody needs to leave, always remember that you guys can contact me at the email address that I'm putting in here right now to be able to book a session with me, okay, a one-on-one session. The rates that I've got, because they could change over time, but they'll stay the same for this year, right, are at that website that I just put in. And make sure that you take a look, just even for shits and giggles and for fun, to take a look at Publication Academy because there's some good stuff on there, okay? So let's keep going. What I've got here is Sunflower. Okay, so Sunflower, let me wrap it up with you. You say you're still insecure because your GPA is kind of low. It's really not that low. 3.5 is good. What I want you to do, though, is find the target programs. 3 to 5 if it's a PhD. Don't listen to any of these wackadoos out here who are saying apply to 10 to 20 programs. You are out of your mind. You're out of your mind. 3 to 5. Why? You need to focus on building personal connections with these people. 3 to 5 is the only thing you're going to have the time to be able to do. Okay? So that's that. 3.5 could be fine depending on the target program. When you find those 3 to 5 programs, contact the admissions departments, okay? And I want you to find out for your target program, what is the median GPA? You could be fine. You could be, okay? But we're not going to know, and I can't give you a blanket answer. Nobody could. They'd be lying if they would say it, okay? But take a look at your target program, okay? And then you can find out. Okay, Boris, my man. Boris says, hey, Dr. Singh, as I've mentioned before, I'm an English language and literature undergrad, 3rd year, 3.27. We got to get it up to 3.5. Got a publication currently editing. I remember, freaking awesome, Boris. So Boris says, my question is whether the admissions office weeds out potential. Boris, I specifically for you made a video on this, and it will come out tomorrow. I scheduled it for tomorrow. So I've got you. Don't worry about that, okay? But would they weed you out just based on GPA? Grades and exceptional emphasis along. Okay, like I mentioned earlier in the stream, right? They will use GPA and test scores to do an initial triage wipe of people, right? That's true. But if you have something exceptional, like actually having a publication, if it's actually accepted to a peer-reviewed publication, impact factored, and recognized in your field journal, right? That's exceptional. And that would give you a better chance, especially if in the personal statement, you really kind of push it home. And in the CV, you put that thing right front and center, okay, mate? Right after education at the very top, I want you putting publication, okay? And then putting that in there, okay? Especially if it's under editing, you can say accepted, right? Or in press, not accepted. You put in press or whatever, right? After the, where the date of publication will usually go, your publication, okay? So, 1 second. Publishing, editing, Charles got his thing. If so, are the overall grades taken into consideration? Or do they mainly care about the marks in the specific field of special? Yeah, Boris, so again, I got in the video tomorrow, but basically, depending on the program, they'll probably take a look at both. even some programs only take a look at the last 60 credits that you got and their grades in them, right? It's a good question. It really depends on the program. When you have a target doctoral program you want to get into, I want you to call the department, or you can make if you're anxious, you can make a new Gmail and, under an anonymous name, send an email to the, director of admissions or whoever, right, or the department chair, and ask them which of those do they care more about, overall GPA or the GPA for your specific major. Okay, so. Bump. Very good. What else have we got? You're welcome, Charles. Awesome. Okay, TJ. Oh, your average psych. Did I miss you, man? I apologize. And thank you for reminding me. Okay. So your average psych has got. Curious your thoughts on how schools consider mid-career and midlife student applicants. In my experience, seems as though some programs frown on applicants that are recent college grads. I completely understand. If you are an individual who has had more time out in the field, maybe you've changed careers, whatever it is, what we want to see is the story. Okay, it's very, very important, right? If you have got everything that I've mentioned, okay, so you've got the grades, the test scores, you have some kind of experience in your field. If it's an applied degree, I want clinical experience. If it's a research degree, I definitely want research experience. If it's a scholar practitioner program, I need both of those, and I need 3 strong letters of recommendation, and not all saying the same things. Oh my gosh, okay? I made a video all about choosing people to write your grad school letters of recommendation. Please watch that video. Okay, so. When you're mid-career or midlife student, right, it does not automatically mean that you're out, okay? If you have the exact same of all those 5 things, and you have a publication, and you have personal connections are the name of the game, right? Don't be an anonymous applicant. Get to know your target supervisor. Then it's going to overcome anything about being mid-career. A friend of mine, her name is Jen. I love Jen. She is a wonderful person. She was an intern of mine all the way back in 2015. She was a lawyer for decades. And decided that then she was really passionate, okay, about wanting to become a forensic psychologist. And that's what she did, right? She moved to the Netherlands and ended up getting her doctorate. And she's doing great. I'm very proud of her, right? And she was able to leverage that legal experience into a cogent story, into a story that makes sense, okay? And that's what you'll need to do. But yes, because you've had a lot more time, there needs to be a stronger story. It's very important. The only thing is, let's say that you were a stay-at-home dad, for example, right? Or you were a stay-at-home mom, right? You were focused on the family. God bless, respect, right? If that's the case, right? Again, find a way to weave the story. How did you go from doing that? Maybe the kids left the house and now you're just like, I rekindled my passion. I started reading the literature again. I started X, Y, and Z, right? Use that, okay? Use that. That story that you build of your life is the story that I would want to hear, that other people will want to hear, but also make sure that you already have everything that these kiddos who are 21, 22 have as well, okay? Personal connections, though, for you are going to be the key to the castle in terms of the target supervisor, okay? So that's what I've got, and thank you for telling me that I missed that. You're very welcome, no problem. Okay, and last but not least for today, guys, is TJ. TJ says, sorry, just got in. Can you give advice for getting scholarships for master psych programs? It's a good question. For something like this, this is a long one, right? So it's probably better that I make a video or something on it. My recommendation here, Sunflower, you're welcome. My recommendation here is that there's a module in Publication Academy. It's all about best practice. It's a master class in grant seeking. How do you find funding, right? So just go to publicationacademy.com, courses, build a custom curriculum, get that class. I want you to watch it. It's the most comprehensive one that's available. And in there, it's going to give you all of the databases, because there's a lot of them, okay? All the databases, the 8 main forms of funders who can fund the degree, okay? And a lot of other information as well, okay? But that's the best thing to be able to do. It's a lot more rare to be able to get a scholarship for a master's program than like a PhD doctoral programs. PsyD programs, in terms of getting funding, good luck. That's rare. That's definitely the exception, not the rule, especially relative to clinical psych PhD programs, okay? But the first thing you want to do, identify the target program and take a look at what scholarships they have available. If it's not easily available online, I want you to go and give them a call, send them an email, and try to find out, okay? So that's the best thing to be able to do to start, because usually you already have to have gotten into a program, right? And again, that's the case for a lot of these. So really focus on the program and making sure you're in the best place possible to be able to gain acceptance first, okay? All right, guys, that's what I've got for you today. Love and appreciate you all. Thank you so much for coming to this. This was the first live. I hope it was helpful. Make sure, again, if you guys want to book an individual session with me, I would love to work with you. Like I said, for 5 to 8 sessions a week, it is the delight of my life to work with you guys, right? Email address is right there. You guys can find my current rates at this one. Yeah, better camera. Yeah, mate, no, you're telling me, right? This one, and also be sure to visit publicationacademy.com. Hey, Wayne, thanks so much, mate. Appreciate it. All right, guys, that's what I got for you today. Peace and love. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.